video. So in this video, I will tell you about the interesting topic. It is about types of translation and interpretation. So let's jump right in.
Hi everyone! Let's learn about types of translation and interpretation. There are 8 types of translation that will be explained in this video. The first type is literary translation. So, what is literary translation? It refers to the translation of creative and artistic texts, such as novels, poems, drama, and short stories from one language to another. The goal of literary translation is not just to convey the meaning of the words, but also to preserve the style, tone, and cultural nuance of the original text. Translators of literature must be skilled in both languages and have a deep understanding of the culture, themes, and emotions expressed in the work to maintain the original's beauty and impact. Let's take a look at the example. I take the example of the poem by Sapardi Djoko Damono. The title of the poem is I Want. Okay, here is the example. In Indonesia, aku ingin mencintaimu dengan sederhana, dengan kata yang tak sempat diucapkan kayu, kepada api yang menjadikannya abu. Aku ingin mencintaimu dengan sederhana, dengan isyarat yang tak sempat disampaikan awan, kepada hujan yang menjadikannya tiada. In English, I want to love you simply, with words that were never spoken, like wood to fire turning into ash. I want to love you simply, with gestures left unexpressed, like clouds to rain fading into nothingness. Well, as I explained earlier, literary translation is a type of translation that preserves the original nuance. This poem maintains its original essence even when translated into English. This translation aims to convey a deep sense of sadness and longing, which is an important aspect of the poem. The use of the phrases never spoken and fading into nothingness helps emphasize the aspects of absence or loss in love, creating a powerful emotion. The next type is audio-visual translation. Audio-visual translation is the process of translating content that has both visual and audio elements, such as movies, TV shows, video games, and online video. There are 2 main types of audio-visual translation. The first one is subtitling. Subtitling is translating spoken dialogue into written text displayed on the screen. Let's see the example.
너 나 알아? 혹시 내가 너 괴롭혔냐?
너 나 기억 안 나?
왜 안 나? 인사 같은 거지. 잘 지냈냐, 조명수?
야 놀래.
Well, we just saw an example of subtitling, where the dialogue in Korean was translated into Indonesian in the form of text appearing at the bottom of the screen. Subtitling is a method of audio-visual translation where the spoken dialogue remains in the original language but is translated into written text so the audience can read and understand the conversation. Subtitling is often used because it preserves the original voices of the characters, allowing the emotions and nuances of the original language to be felt. The audience can hear how the characters speak in their native language while still gaining understanding through the translated text. Then, the second one is dubbing. What is dubbing? So, dubbing is replacing the original dialogue with translated dialogue spoken by voice actors in another language. Let's see the example.
Oh iya, aku hampir lupa. Selamat Hari Diwali, pria.
Tidak, Dev. Aku tidak bisa menerima hadiah itu.
Ini bukan dariku, tapi dari nenekku. Keinginan terakhirnya adalah aku memberi...
Well, as we just saw in the video, dubbing is the process where the original audio of a movie or TV program is replaced with audio in another language. In the example earlier, we saw how an Indian movie was dubbed into Indonesian. The purpose of dubbing is to make it easier for audience who do not understand the original language to follow the dialogue and storyline without having to read subtitle. It helps people from different cultures and languages understand and enjoy content that they wouldn't otherwise be able to follow.
The next type of translation is technical translation. Technical translation is the process of transferring the meaning of technical text from one language to another. It is a type of specialized translation that involves documents created by technical writers, such as manuals, user guides, and more. Technical translation is important because it helps ensure that customers understand the products or services they are using. It is a key component of a successful global business strategy. Technical translation is often used in fields such as engineering, medicine, and information technology. Some challenges of technical translation include knowledge of the subject and use of dialect and style.
Legal translation. Legal translation is the accurate rendering of legal documents to preserve their original legal meaning and context. It differs from general or literary translation in that it necessitates specialized knowledge of legal terminology and concepts, as well as fluency in both the source and target languages. Legal translations may be used for a variety of purposes, such as to understand the meaning of a contract or other legal document better, or to prepare an English translation of a document for use in an international business transaction or a legal proceeding. Legal translation is required for various documents to ensure that they comply with local laws and regulations and are accurately understood by the target audience. The types of documents that may require legal translation include 1. Contracts, 2. Business documents, 3. Intellectual property documents, 4. Regulatory compliance documents, 5. Tax and financial documents, 6. Wills, 7. Marriage certificates, and the last, divorce.
The next type of translation is medical translation. Medical translation is a specialized field focused on the accurate translations of medical documents and material used in healthcare settings. This includes a wide range of documents such as patient records, clinical trial data, medical device instruction, and pharmaceutical information. The goal of medical translation is to ensure that critical medical information is accessible and understandable across different languages, which is vital for effective patient care and safety.
Financial translation. Financial translation is the process of translating financial statements from one currency to another. This is often done by multinational companies that operate in multiple countries with different currencies. The main purpose of financial translation is to present, consolidate financial statements to that stakeholders such as investors, creditors, and management can compare the company's overall financial performance. Financial translation methods. So there are several commonly used translation methods, including the first one is current exchange rate method. This method uses the exchange rate on the date that financial statements are prepared to convert all items in the financial statements. And the second one is average exchange rate method. This method uses the average exchange rate during the accounting period to convert certain item. And the third one is historical exchange rate methods. This method uses the exchange rate at the time the transaction occurred to convert certain items.
Website and software location is a type of translation that focuses on adapting and translating digital content, such as website and software application to match the language, culture, and preference of use in specific region or country. This process not only involves translating text from one language to another, but also take into account elements such as language, date and time format, symbol, and currency. Cultural and local preference. A real-life example of website and software location can be seen when you use an international app like Facebook. Things that are translated include language translation, all the English text on the Facebook website or application, like, share, and comment, will be translated into Bahasa Indonesia as suka, bagikan, and komentari. Date and time format. In the US, the date format is usually month, day, year, but for Indonesia user, Facebook will localize this to day, month, years. Currency. If there are advertisement or marketplace feature that involves money, Facebook will show the currency in Indonesia rupiah (IDR) instead of US dollar (USD). Cultural sensitivity. Facebook might change the way certain emoji, icon, or symbol are displayed to avoid any cultural misunderstanding. For example, certain hand gesture of color that are common in one culture might have a different meaning in Indonesia. By doing this, Facebook make Indonesia user feel like the app is truly designed for them, even though it's used all over the world.
Business translations refers to the process of translating document, materials, and communication using a business setting from one language to another. It ensures that business content such as contracts, financial reports, marketing materials, and email can be understood by people who speak different languages while maintaining the professional tone and accuracy required in a business context. Business translation involves legal documents, marketing materials, financial reports, business emails, and communication, training, and technical manuals. Well, you have understood what is the business translation. Now we move to the example. An Indonesian company wants to collaborate with a Japanese partner to launch a new product. Before they can finalize the deal, the Indonesian company needs to translate their business contract into Japanese. This contract includes important detail like payment terms, delivery schedules, and intellectual property rights. This translation must be accurate and legally precise to avoid misunderstanding. Once translated, both parties can be clearly understand the terms and move forward with the partnership. Ensure everything is agreed upon in the both language.
Interpretation. Interpretation is the process of translating orally from one language to another. An interpreter acts as a communication bridge between two parties who speak different language. There are several types of interpretation, one of which is simultaneous interpretation. Simultaneous interpretation is a type of interpretation in which the interpreter translates directly and almost simultaneously with the speaker. That is, the interpreter listens to the conversation and simultaneously provides his or her translation in a different language. Characteristics of simultaneous interpretation. So the first one, there is spatial skills. Simultaneous interpreters require spatial skills such as the ability to listen, analyze, and produce language quickly and accurately. And the second one, spatial equipment. Typically, simultaneous interpretation use spatial equipment such as booths, headsets,
speaking so that we
microphones
don't fall
to
behind the
facilitate
lecture
communication
and
between
that people
the
can see it
interpreter
simultaneously
and
while the lecture is
participants.
going.
And the third one is high pressures. Simultaneous interpreters work under high pressure because they have to keep up with the flow of the conversation and deliver translations in real time. An example of simultaneous interpretation use: there is international conference, business meetings, and formal events.
And the next is consecutive interpretation. Consecutive interpretation is a method of interpreting in which an interpreter listens to a speaker's message and then conveys it in the target language after the speaker pauses. This approach contrasts with a simultaneous interpretation, where the interpreter translates in real time as the speaker talks.
Whispered interpretation. Whispered interpretation, which you can also find in the French term tutorage, is a form of oral, precise, and immediate interpretation. The whispered interpretation process requires the speaker, interpreter, and foreign participants to sit close to one another. This requirement is necessary so the interpreter can clearly understand what is said and then translate it. The interpreter whispers the speaker's words in your ear or close to you while the speaker is still going or immediately after his pause. Whisper interpretation can be used in many different cases. However, the most common situations include: the first one is guided tours. When visiting a foreign country, the whispering interpreter translates the history and culture of the countries you visit. The second, court hearings. When a defendant or a witness does not possess the primary language of the court. The third, seminars or workshops, where the number of people is small and the whisper interpreter can be close to each of you to interpret the speaker's words. The fourth, diplomatic or business meetings. in closed meetings between delegates or business people with real-time communication and confidential information.
The last type of interpretation is relay interpretation. Relay interpretation is a technique used when there are more than two languages involved, but no interpreter directly masters both the source and target languages, also known as indirect interpreting. This method relies on a third language called the pivot language to facilitate communication. When is relay interpretation used? The first one is if no interpreter is available for direct translation between the source and target languages. The second, there are multiple official languages involved in a setting like in international conferences. And the last is listeners speak rare or uncommon languages for which interpreters are not easily available.
Thank you for watching our video and see you next time. Bye!